Mi gente, saludos. Welcome to another episode of Hoy en Día TV. Wow, beautiful, another beautiful Thursday, right? We are alive, we are well, we are here. And I thank you for your viewing support. We have another amazing episode as per usual. Here at Hoy en Día, we aim to positively motivate, enlighten, educate, inspire, and entertain you all, the viewers, with each episode. And today we're going to be talking about, well, a lot of things because we have a special guest. And so, with the special guest, Oyandia, she is a talented speaker. She is an advocate for personal growth and resilience. And with her powerful book, because she is also an author, called Divorced But Not Defeated, she shares her own journey of overcoming the challenges of divorce and finding that strength to thrive beyond. And through her personal anecdotes, practical advice, motivational insights, Marquette, I know I spilled the beans, all right. Marquette Walker, Mrs. Marquette Walker, helps individuals learn to empower and embrace their new chapters with courage, hope, and grace, because we all need that courage, hope, and grace. This transformation, or her transformation, a path for healing, growth, empowerment in the face of adversity, has inspired many, many, many to find their own resilience and inner strength. So, Mrs. Marquette and her work, they serve as a beacon of light for those facing difficult times by offering guidance support to navigate through life's challenges and grace. So our Ships to Sail segment focuses on that, focuses on love, growth, healing, and empowerment. And so I know that you will find it very rewarding. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to welcome our special guest. We have Mrs. Marquette Walker. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am great. I am great. Just happy to be here with you tonight.
And I'm happy that you are here with me. And so I'm super excited. And I want you to start sharing who Mrs. Marquette is. I know I shared a little bit, but I know that was just a very high level overview of who you
Absolutely. First and foremost, I want to honor you and thank you once again for allowing me to be a part of this amazing platform. So, thank you once again for having me on this evening. So, who is Marquette L. Walker? Well, I have been entrusted with a numerous of hats. I am a wife. I am a mother of two young men. They're 29 and 30. I'm also a bonus mom of four, aging from 10 to 23. I'm a minister. I am a coach. I am a motivational speaker. Let's see what else. An author of my new debut book, Divorced But Not Defeated. Um, what else am I missing? I'm whatever God wants me to be. That's what.
That's amazing. You wear a lot of hats, a
Yeah,
lot of hats. And you know what's interesting is I've noticed a lot of powerful, strong women. They do wear a lot of hats, right? We have to be able to easily shift from one thing to another, one person to the other, and bring out
absolutely.
the best. And how to start, because you did just tell us a lot of the hats that you wear. How do you keep yourself going? What continues to motivate you?
You know what? It sounds like a lot, and it is a lot for some women. But
Mhm.
I'm gonna tell you, I tell women, men, or whoever, you know, that God does not put no more on us than we can bear. So I can bear it all. I can hold it all. And what I do is I just prioritize what comes first. What is the order in all of this? And for me, my first ministry is home. I make sure home is good, husband is good, children are good. Now my babies are grown and out and have their own families, but we have the smalls that come with us periodically. And so making sure they're good and being sensitive to their needs and then as far as coaching and ministering, I'm making sure that I carve out enough time to make sure that I'm sharing the wealth of healing and winning and all of those aspects of just handling difficult situations in your life at this time.
Right. No, absolutely. And with Oyandia, what I like to do is I like to remind people that although we are successful and we're blessed, we're also human, right? Things
Absolutely,
happen. We have a story to share. And so with
absolutely.
I would like for you to share, if you can, from the beginning, how when you were growing up and how you came here. What do you remember about growing up, and what motivated you to come along this path that you are today?
Absolutely. That's an awesome question. So, just thinking back over my life, revisiting childhood. So, I was born and raised in the church. My dad was a minister. My mom was a prayer warrior. If we have our church people out there that knows what that is. And then, so being in church all my life, I mean, born and raised, pretty much was born on the pews, pretty much. That's how much we were in church. We lived an amazing life. My dad was in the military. He's a police officer. My mom was a nurse. Um, and one thing that I held on to coming up was in the church, you saw a lot of awesomely amazing marriages. Like everyone was so happy and
Mhm.
loving and, and all of that good stuff. And that was one thing that I held on to as a child because, us as girls, young girls, we start planning our marriage when we were 7 years old. We want this fairy tale wedding and, the big gowns and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
so I held on to that as a child. And so that kind of paved my way into where I am now. My mom and my dad, they were married for 18 years. They eventually got a divorce. But for some reason, in my mind, I still held on to that happy marriage. One day I'm going to be happily married, right?
Of
But not learning in my growth. So let me back up just a little bit. In that, my
course.
mom and dad getting a divorce, childhood trauma. I saw my mother, um, the pain, the hurt, the rejection, the abandonment that she felt from my father. I pretty much internalized that. So I held on to all of that growing up. So I had unforgiveness from my father, bitterness, just resentment. I just really didn't want to have anything to do with my dad because how can you love someone that bear five of your children, and treat them the way you did, right? And so I held on to that for a very long time. But where that messed me up at is as I'm growing up, I still had this thought I'm going to be happily married. But now I have a weight of childhood trauma. I have scars from what my mother carried. So I internalized those scars. And so now it ultimately affected every relationship in my life, whether it was professional, whether it was personal, um, in just a dating relationship, whatever it was, it ultimately scarred those relationships. So what I call that was bleeding on everyone. So
Right.
I got wounds, I got these cuts that did not heal, and I'm steady bleeding. And so as I'm going into these relationships, I am bleeding on people because I have not addressed the issues. So now we're fast forwarding a little bit. Now, to give you a high overview, and we'll dive in, I'm pretty sure we'll dive in a little bit deeper. I'm not sure how many Bible scholars we have out there, but I'm not sure if they heard about the woman at the well. She's found in John chapter 4. She was married
Okay.
5 times, right? And so I am on my fifth marriage. And now I used to label myself as the woman at the well, but I'm no longer that. So I'm going to walk people in how to become a winning woman and have a successful marriage, right? And so, yeah, so it just really messed up every relationship. And I ultimately had I picked some bad people as well because of what I was carrying.
Hmm.
So that is now moving me in. I started at marriage number one, not knowing the ins and outs of marriages. All I had in my mind is that I'm going to be happily married one day. Well, no one told me that I had to fertilize my grass. I had to water it. I had to till it up. Then nobody told me that. They never told me that you have your ups and downs, your ins and outs. I never knew that, right? And so now we're going through and we're having issues, and I'm looking around for help, like, hey, nobody told me about this stuff. So now
Right.
it ends up in a divorce, right? It ends up in a divorce, and now I'm moving right along, and I'm still holding on to I'm going to have a happy marriage, but not addressing the issues that I have, right? So now I'm in marriage number two, I had so many marriages I had to start naming them. First one was naive. I was just naive, young and naive, right? Second one, I call that one shame on me because I married the same guy just in a different body. But what happens
Huh?
is
Okay.
hurt, hurt attracts hurt. Dysfunction attracts dysfunction. So I did all of that, and so trauma attracts trauma, right? And so now I'm in marriage number two, same guy as the first, in a different body, and so still
Mhm.
having the ups and downs, still have not addressed me yet, right? And so now that also ends up in a divorce. Now we're moving into marriage number three. Now, God was trying to get me to a place. Remember, I was born and raised in the church. I ended up coming out of the church, but then I
Mhm.
ended up starting to get back in the church at the third marriage, right? And
Mhm.
so at this point, this is the wake up call here. Number three,
Okay.
I'm inviting my dad. I'm inviting my dad to the wedding. Um, and this is when I realized that I still had some unforgiveness towards him, right? And so my dad says, I understand. Marriages have their ups and downs, they have their ins and outs. So I'll give you the first one. I'll even give you the second one. But by the time you get to number three, there's something wrong with you. So now, get this now. My dad divorced my mom. Remember that, right?
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
So now I'm calling my dad back and I'm letting my dad have it. Like I'm going off disrespectful, all of that stuff, going off, letting them know you did this to my mom, and now you're talking about me. You divorced mom. So I'm going in with my dad. But you know what? I remember the scripture rang so dear to me. Honor thy father and thy mother that your days may be long on the earth. I'm gonna tell you, Yesy, I'm gonna tell you, I went off so bad, I had to hurry up and call my dad back and ask for forgiveness because I just saw my days dwindling down. Like, oh my God, my days about to be short. I'm not going to be on the earth very long. And now, when I say I had to hurry up and call him back, that wasn't the case. It wasn't a week later. It wasn't 2 weeks later. It wasn't even a month later. It was rough, almost 3 months later. And I still didn't feel like that was long enough. But I had to address that unforgiveness that I had towards my dad. And then at that point, I will be able to move forward and start working on me. Right. So that was the basis of it, just carrying that unforgiveness. And so called him back and we had a long conversation. I asked him forgive me because what him and my mom had, that's between him and God, not me. God would handle that part. But that is still my dad, and I need to respect him as such, right? So now I cleared all of that up. Now we're going into marriage number three. My mom passed away. I tell anyone, do not make a life changing decision when you're going through grief, right? So I'm grieving my mom. Now this guy come along. He sent in the edible arrangements, the flowers every week, and all of that. But that's not what I needed. But when you're going through grief, you don't see that, right? And so when I came out of that grief state, came out the grief state, I'm looking like, no, this ain't it. What's going on? How did this happen? What was I
Right.
thinking? So I call that marriage. What was I thinking? And so, yeah. And so then after that, so that one ultimately ends up in a divorce because it was just based off the wrong thing. And so at that point, I said, okay, my dad said something that really struck and it stuck. Like there's got to be something there. There's something wrong with you. And so at that point, I took some time out. It was about 6 years. I did not date anyone. I did not go out with anyone. Nope, they couldn't have my phone number. They'll ask me for my own. They came. They asked me for my number. I'm like, nope, don't want your phone number, and you can't have mine. Well, can I take you out to dinner? Nope, I don't want to go out to dinner. Well, let's just be friends. Nope, I have a friend in Jesus. That's all I need at this point. So I really took some time off to dig deep, pull back the layers, because that's what we're not doing. A lot of us are not pulling back the later layers and getting to the root of
Right.
why we do the things that we do and why we're in the things that we're in, right? And so as I pull back these layers, I saw resentment, I saw unforgiveness, I saw what else? Hurt, anger, bitterness, rage. I seen all of this stuff. And simply not just having no accountability. I had no accountability, had no forgiveness, had no grace, and definitely did not have any patience for anyone. I was like, oh no, you're done. You hurt me, you're done, right? And so in dealing with that, it was a hurting thing. It was a very hurting thing to see all of this stuff unfold. But we have to go through that journey. It is necessary for us to get to a place of healing so we can win and ultimately have a winning relationship, right? So now I spent this time out, 6 years, and then I'm now going to number 4. So there was still a few underlying things there. So that one didn't last long either. And so now I found myself back at the well. I'm like, God, I did it the right way. I did it according to the word. I'm praying, I'm fasting, I'm doing all these things. And now I feel like I have failed again. Right. And so God met me right back at the well. And this is what I want to tell people: no matter what you go through, um, your past, whatever's in your past, He is right there to meet you right there to help you through whatever you're going through. So He met me back at the well. And because He knew my heart and He knew I wanted to be married, then He blessed me with my fifth and my forever right now. And we are locking arms to let people know you can have a successful relationship or a successful marriage in spite of what you've been through in your past, right? No matter what, you can have that. If it is in your heart to have that, if you do the work, you do the work, and God will. You do the work and include God into it. You allow God to do the work on the inside, then it will reflect on the outside, and then it will reflect in your relationships. Because what I ultimately found out is I didn't even love myself. So first of all, you have to get to a place that, first of all, you know yourself, learn who you are. Number two, you love yourself. And then you allow God to do the rest of all of that. But you can't do that until you get to a place that you allow God to help out with that, right? And so
Right.
when I allow God in completely, I now see how He loved me. And then now I can ultimately love somebody else, love myself, and then love someone else. And that's where I am today. So that is the whole
Wow.
high level overview of my life.
Yes, and I love it. And I have so many questions as I was listening to you. They're coming up in my head like, yes, I gotta ask you this, I gotta ask you that. So fast forwarding, well, actually turning the page early on when your parents were getting separated.
Mhm.
I recall you sharing earlier in the story how you felt, that emotion. And so the question that I aim towards you, this is aimed to also towards the viewers from a parent perspective as well as from a child's perspective. So
Right.
putting your hat back on as that young child, dealing with that, understanding that your parents are going to get separated, right? What would you have wanted to see from your father? Because I know you said you felt that resentment, that pain from him.
Mhm.
That you do you feel it was something different he should have done to make you not, or would have caused you not to feel the way you did towards him? What would you have wanted to see differently?
You know what? That's a good question. I think the ultimate thing here is no child, no child wants to see their parents get a divorce, right? They don't care if they're going through fighting every day and all of that. They just say, just stick together, make it work, right? I think, yes, he could have done it differently. I think if my dad would have sat us all down, first him and my mom ironed it out and come to an understanding. But my mother went through a lot of stuff with him, so there wasn't an understanding there. And then, so I can understand even probably the shame on his part as well, and the guilt on his part. So when you're harboring guilt and shame and stuff like that, you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to sit down and talk and have a conversation because you're in the shadows. You want to you just want to be in the shadows, right? So if he was in the right place, I think if my dad would have sat us all down and we had a conversation with him and still letting us know that I love you, I'm going to be here for you. Um, I'm going to be here to help in whatever. And this, this is what it help us understand what
Mhm.
was this, why he made the decision, right? I think that would have ultimately helped out, but it was totally opposite to that, right? And so then we started to feel the rejection because when he was supposed to come get us, he wouldn't come get us. He didn't come get us. So now we're feeling the same thing or going through the same thing my mom went through.
Wow. So you
Yeah.
said some powerful things there. So from a parent's perspective, for
Mhm.
whoever's watching, that if you're dealing with a similar situation, the key here that I want you to take away is communication.
Yes.
Communicate effectively with your family. Yes, there's
Absolutely.
going to be questions, people are going to feel uncomfortable. But it's one of those things, those conversations where you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable because now things are going to change. Things are going to be uncomfortable anyway, right?
Right.
So help people understand based on what Marquette was saying. Bring them together. Bring the family together. Talk to them. Tell them why. Help them understand they're young. They don't know. But the only way they're really going to know is if you sit them down, hear them
That's,
out,
yeah.
hear how they feel, right? And also, when you say you're going to do something, keep your word. That's
There you
integrity
go.
because you're
Yep.
building that integrity from early on, so that way they know that they can continue to trust you. In Marquette's
Absolutely.
situation, unfortunately, with her father not really keeping his word, I'm sure that caused more chaos down the line, just
Hmm.
like she explained. But that was for that question. That was the main takeaway that I wanted people to understand is importance of communication and
Yeah.
importance of keeping your word. And
Absolutely.
also from a child's perspective, right? You mentioned you wanted to see hear the communication from your father, but now putting your head as an adult and dealing with divorce yourself and also having children, right? What would you share with that person dealing with that? Because I understand, everybody's situation is different, but
Mm.
based on your experience and based on your situations that you've dealt with divorce, for an individual that's fresh, that's new to this divorce, this is a scary situation. They don't know what to do. What would be
Mhm.
your words that you would share with a person that's dealing with this for the first time?
So I would first of all say is forgive yourself. A lot of times we internalize and we blame ourselves
Mhm.
for the divorce. It's our fault. It's us. What did we do wrong? What could I have done differently? The thing is, first and foremost, is forgive yourself. And secondly, it is okay not to be okay. Society tell us, no, it is not okay. Get over it, or even in the church, even in corporate, wherever. No, no, you just need to get over it. No, it is okay not to be okay. Take some time for yourself. You're going through a grief. You're grieving. That's a grief, but that is a death, right? And so, like I said, first and foremost is forgive yourself. Number two is it's okay to be okay. Have that grace for yourself. Show that grace towards yourself. Because if you don't, it ultimately it's worse than what it needs to be. It's already bad in itself because it's death. And so we're dealing with death. You're dealing with grief. So have that patience with yourself. Show yourself grace and understand that it's not going to be this way forever. It's not the pain will eventually subside. But we have to ultimately get to a place for it too. A lot of people we hold on. Oh, some of us we will
Mhm.
hold on to it and we're dying on the inside. So now we
Right.
can't live. We can't stand in the things that we do because we're too busy holding on to the hurt and the pain that we experience when that is what the hurt and pain is for, is to grow us, is to mature us. And the stories that we have that are part of our life, that is to help someone else. It's really not for us, it's to help someone else coming up behind you.
Right. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, going back to your first marriage, you called it
Hmm.
night. Okay.
Hmm.
And I assume because you were younger, I'm assuming, right? You were younger, you were fresh, you were like, hey, like, I want to get married.
Yeah.
Putting on that hat again to an individual who may be in a long committed relationship. They're young. That's that young
Hmm.
puppy love, I call it, right? We
Hmm.
have the
Hmm.
butterflies, the cupids, and all the feelings.
Right.
But sometimes I've noticed people rush into things. And that's when they realize, oh, wait, this person's not really who this whole time I thought they were.
Hmm.
So for a young individual considering marriage, because marriage is sacred, it's
Thank you.
serious, right? What words of motivation or food for thought would you share for someone who may be considering marriage for the first time to make sure that
First and foremost, I would tell them to learn themselves, get to know who you are first, know your worth, know your value. Because a lot of times we're rushing into things and we have not even matured yet to know who we are. We don't know our worth. We don't know our value. And we're jumping into things that we're jumping into something so sacred. But that's why we have a high divorce rate right now. Because a lot of us are going in broken, don't know who we are. They just the idea of marriage. That was one of the things they used to talk about. I mean, she must be in love with the idea of marriage, and you could say that back in the day. I was. I saw all these happy marriages, and yes, but I would tell them, take your time, get to know you first, and once you know who you are, you will know what you can receive, right? Because you don't know, if you don't know who you are, you're going to accept anything that comes your way. That was
Right.
that was me. That's why I can say that. I didn't even know who I was. I didn't even love myself. I didn't know my worth, my value, any of that. So I was accepting anything that came my way. So my advice to anyone, whether it's a young lady or a man, please take your time, get to know who you are. Get to know your worth, your value that you're bringing to the table, because not until you do that, you will know what you deserve to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now going into the stage where you took 6 years
Hmm.
to really reflect on yourself and really get to know you.
Hmm.
That's actually a challenge based on my experience and the conversations I've had with others in the past. A lot of people find that challenging to do. So how did you do it? How did you really like, focus on, yes, this is I'm gonna take as long as I need, and it took you 6 years. If some people
Hmm.
may take longer. What
Right.
words of encouragement and motivation would you share to that individual who wants to consider that, but they're just scared because they're used to being with someone or having someone as a companion, right?
Right. The thing is, what I would tell anyone, it was a difficult journey. It was a difficult season for me, but I was intentional about it because I still had that glimmer of hope that I'm going to have the awesomely amazing marriage. But I knew that there was something on the inside of me that I'm drawing the type of men that I was drawing, that I knew this is not who I am. This is not what I saw. This is not what I'm used to, right? And so I was very intentional. When you are intentional about making things different in your life, you it does not even matter. Now, was it tough in the beginning? Because everyone goes through their phase. If you're connected to someone and then you just automatically just stop, you're like, huh, that season of loneliness come in.
Right.
You're like, oh, what is wrong with me? What woe is me? And you go through all these different emotions, right? But I will tell anyone, it is necessary, it is imperative that you take your time. First of all, take your time and go through the season. It's okay. It's gonna be difficult, yes, but understand what's difficult is building you to be better in the future, right? So a lot of times we do not want to go through difficult. That's the thing. We're like,
Hmm.
oh, that's too hard, I'm gonna shy away from that, but I'm comfortable right here. For me, I knew I always had a mind of greatness, that I was going to be, I'm going to do some great things. I'm going to help people. I love people genuinely. So
Hmm.
I'm going to be able to help someone. And because I had that mindset, I knew I had to make some changes in my life in order for me to be great. So that's what I tell people. If you change your mindset, when you change your mindset and you see yourself in a different light, you're going to put in the work, and you don't care how long it takes. I need to put in the work because I'm going to be great.
Right. That's amazing. And so I know you've coached and mentored and do many public speakings. So, with the experiences that you have heard from others, what are the top reasons people get divorced in your experience based on what you've heard and what you've also experienced yourself? What would you
Mhm.
say are the top reasons people get divorced?
The top reason that most people get divorced is because of infidelity, and finances.
Wow.
Infidelity and finances. And now ultimately, that I'm hearing a lot of is accountability. So for myself, I'm big on accountability. A lot of times we're pointing the finger. We're good at, you did this to me, or you said that, or you did this, or but what part did we play? So if we learn to individualize and take a step back and say, what can I have done differently? What in me I could have done differently? So for me, I could have took the time to heal from childhood trauma, then that would
Hmm.
have staved off all these marriages, right? Because at that point, then I know what I deserve. I know my worth. I know what I'm not going to put up with. I know what I'm going to accept and what I'm not going to accept. So I think also accountability was another factor. People are starting to look within now. They're starting to say, oh, yeah, I thought back when I was 10 years old, this happened to me. I thought back when I was 8 years old, this happened, right? And so a lot of people are starting to reflect on their life, because a lot of times we need to go back and see what's going on with us. And it usually stems, you'll pretty much find it in from your childhood.
And I agree. In my experience, based on the people that I've spoken with and communicated with about divorce and similar topics, they usually say it stems from childhood. Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
so keeping that in mind, and also based on the experiences that you've shared, you know, I'm big on, if you know it's not going the right way, why are you still going to stick with it? That's what I'm big on. And so
Mm-hmm.
with me, it's like, if before somebody does something, why
Mm-hmm.
don't they just decide to separate? Like, if we
Separate.
know it's not
Right.
working out, why am I going to go out and cheat
Right.
versus saying, hey, so and so, this is not working out? So why do you think people? Why do they do that? Because one, that's going to be hurtful not only to
Right.
your partner, but also to the family. There's consequences. There's a domino effect that affects a lot of people, especially when infidelity is in the play or other factors that you mentioned. Why do you think
Mm-hmm.
people still pretend like, oh, let me just pretend everything's peachy when it's really not?
You know what? I come to the conclusion of, number one, selfishness. People are so selfish. They're selfish. They only care about what they want at that time. It does not matter if I hurt someone or don't hurt anyone. And not only that, they're broken on the inside. So now you're dealing with somebody that's broken, that we dealing with people that's broken that we didn't even realize. Or they won't even come out. And let me tell you, a lot of people are afraid to really be open, honest, and vulnerable and say what I've been through, what I had to deal with. Nobody wants to talk about that. A lot of people are hiding from their past, or
Wow.
hiding from the things that hurt them or cut them. They don't want to talk about that. But so instead, they put this wall up, or they say, you know what, it's about me. It's all about me. Selfishness plays a big part, but also brokenness, trauma, all of that also plays a part. People just don't want to dig deep and find that what that is.
Mm, that's deep. That is deep. So definitely, like everything that you mentioned, self acknowledging, looking within yourself. Those
Mm-hmm.
are the things I'm learning based on what you're sharing with me too.
Yeah.
um, Making sure for that young person, especially because they're coming fresh off of mom and dad's house, and now they're going into the world of being an adult, being on your own, paying bills,
Yeah. Yeah.
figuring food out and dinner, and so
Right.
now you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
That's serious. Like,
It is.
you need to make sure that what you are getting into is true. And so the words of advice based on what Marquette is sharing is, know yourself first,
Yeah.
and the trauma, understand if there is any trauma from your childhood. How are you gonna overcome those? Because you don't want to bring that into now your marriage when there's a broken person, and if your partner is also broken, that's going to be two broken pieces trying to mend together. I don't see how that's going to work.
Yeah. It does not work. It doesn't work. You know how they say, well, 50-50 make one, but that's not what God called. He called for one times one equals one, right? So
Huh?
you have to come in whole. You have to come in whole. They have to come in whole. Then there you go. There's your one right there. It's not 50-50, because that means half of you is not right. So that means
Right?
that half could jack up your marriage or your relationship, right? So you have to find, take some time out. I'll tell you, I cannot stress enough. I'm so passionate about this because of all the stuff that I've been through. And I had to deal with, the infidelity and stuff, but understand, trauma attracts trauma. Brokenness attracts brokenness. And a lot of times we don't realize it. Like, how in the world did I get this? This is not what I'm used to. But then if you take the time to reflect back on your life, you're going to find it somewhere. You'll find where it's at. Like, that's where it's at. And a lot of times, people are dealing with generational things, generational curses that has happened in their bloodline.
Wow.
Daddy cheated on mama, uncle cheated on their wife, but the brother done cheated on his. It's a generational curse that needs to be broken. And a lot of
Hmm.
people don't understand that it's in the bloodline. Daddy seen grandpa do it, and then now the brother seen daddy do it, and now the cousin done seen uncle do it. So everyone is doing it.
That's deep. So that to me sounds more spiritual right there.
That's it.
There's a spirit there that's causing that family to continue, like you said, to stay broken generation after generation.
Absolutely,
Woo,
absolutely. You know what is so ironic, and the reason why I say that is because in all of this, not knowing my great grandmother was married 4 times. Then, so now a light bulb goes off. Then I'm looking at my uncles, which were my mom's brothers. They were all married 3, 4 times. Generational. That's a generational curse that needed to be broken.
wow,
Yeah, so
wow.
not only the childhood trauma, now I got generational issues going on.
Oh my goodness. And I'm glad you shared that because I believe in being that one to break that generational curse.
Absolutely.
And so for a person that may have that same light bulb that you just said, like, oh yeah, wow, come to think of it, you
Right.
know, how would you motivate them to be different? And again, I know you've shared, looking with them yourself and all that, but sometimes what I've noticed is with families, it's kind of like you want to be different, but then for some reason you find yourself back, and it's like you try to break away, and it's not easy. Like it's like a tug of war. What I've
Yeah.
noticed with most families, and so what extra encouragement would you say to that person? Like because they might find it challenging, and I'm sure they might get some slack from family, like, oh, you acting different, oh, you think you this, you think you that, people talking.
Yeah. So what I would say is if you want to be different, you have to break away from the familiar.
Ah,
That is a familiar thing that they're used to. And the thing is, people get uncomfortable with change. People don't like change. When you're used to a certain thing and you're used to doing it a certain way, and now you're being told or you feel like you have to change, that's very uncomfortable. So because it's uncomfortable, people stay with the familiar. But I'm going to tell you, if you want to be great and you want to win at everything that you do, you have got to be set apart. And you have to make up in your mind that, you know what? I don't want to be the familiar. I want to be different. I want to be great. I want to win. So let me move in this direction, no matter how tough it may feel or how hard it may feel or how difficult it may seem. I have to tread this. I'm going in this direction because I need to make sure that my family is going to be different. I'm going to be different from my family. So someone's going to have to break that generational curse. So I would say be that one. Be that one to break that curse that is on your family.
yes, be that one. Absolutely be that one. And I agree. I'm with you. That's why even with me, like I love my family, but I had to move
Mhm.
to a completely different state.
Yep.
Made myself uncomfortable because my
Come
whole
on.
family had it all over. I was solo. And I was like, you know
Mhm.
what? God made me for a purpose.
Absolutely.
And thanks be to God, I'm thriving. So I
See?
completely agree with what you're saying. And so with that in mind, some people may not know where to start, especially the part of being solo
Right.
and finding who you are.
Yeah.
So, are there any activities or any groups that you would recommend, or
Mhm.
anything in general that you may take from your journey that you can share with the audience to help them with this process? Because this is a tough process.
Absolutely. It is a very difficult process. And for me, what I had to start doing is I started to meditate. I started journaling because a lot of times we're holding a lot of stuff in our mind that needs to be out. So I would recommend for someone that's going in this journey, that's starting this journey, start journaling.
Okay.
Journal, I'm telling you, it relaxes your spirit. So journal, take some time out to meditate, practice that self-care. What does that look like? Taking yourself out to dinner, taking yourself to the movies, going to the spa by yourself. Make it a self thing, because then you're doing that self growth on your own. You don't need anyone. When you can get to a place where you don't need anyone to help you grow, that's a good place to be in. Now it's okay to have someone come along, but they should add to that growth. You should be attracting people that's going to add to you and multiply you. A lot of times what we're doing is we are accepting people that's taking away from us, that's subtracting from us and dividing us. So we
Mm,
want to get away from that. And so if they keep that type of mindset, so I would encourage them to hold on to that saying right there. I need some multipliers and I need some adders in my life. And I
yeah.
want to be able to add and multiply to someone else. So that's going to be the starting of your journey. But how did you start there? Start journaling. start meditating, start exercising, doing some self-care, exercising, making it be about you. Love on you. Get to know who you are. So start there. I would say start there first. And that's what I done. And I'm gonna tell you, it works wonders.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Now
You're welcome.
let's turn the page. Let's focus on your book. So you are an author. Amazing. And so tell us what the reader who wants to pick up your book, what can they expect from your book?
So what they can expect from my book is open, honest, and transparency and vulnerability. That's
Mhm.
first and foremost, because that's where we got to start. And
Right.
then from there, I'm going to uplift, I'm going to encourage you, and I'm going to inspire you to be better than what I was. And so they will read about each one of my marriages. I go into more detail. I dive in deep with my marriages because I guarantee you, most of the readers who get my book, they can find themselves in one of my marriages. Anyone. And so then I give them steps, I give them tools to take along with them to help get them out of the state where they are. So I think this is a very encouraging and inspiring book that's really going to help some of us heal and also win.
Yes, that's amazing. And so with your book
Mhm.
and the way you break down your marriages, the tools, are you able to share one or two of your tools or techniques of how to make your marriage successful?
Absolutely. First and foremost is um like let me talk about my current marriage and
Mhm.
how to, and I can kind of use it as an example. As I went through the journaling, meditation, getting me right, getting me together, and that's one thing that I walk people through as well into having a successful relationship. Also, denying the selfishness. We got to get rid of the selfishness and make it be, you got to become selfless. So when you become selfless, then you're more willing to compromise. You're willing to talk about, communicate effectively.
Mhm.
And then also just loving on purpose. Loving on purpose. Make it be on purpose. Because a lot of people are, oh, I love you, and they keep it moving. But be intentional and on purpose when you're loving.
Right.
And that's what's going to help with a successful marriage. So even when you have those ups and downs, I'm not going to tell you my marriage is perfect. We have our ups and downs. We don't hit a couple speed bumps in the road, but now we know how to address them effectively. Versus back in the day, I would have cut you off and been gone about my business, be like, I'm done. We would keep it moving, right? But we're
Right.
trying to prevent that. We're trying to get that divorce rate down, not keep increasing that or adding to that divorce rate. We don't want to do that. So in chapter, I believe it's um, chapter 11, I talk about my fifth marriage, and I walk people through having that successful marriage. And those are some key tools that will help them have a successful marriage. And being open and honest, be who you are. Don't be a fake. Be who you are.
Right.
Get to a place where I'm good with who I am, whether I have a wig on today or not, whether I have makeup on today or not, right?
Right.
I'm good with who I am. So be okay with who you are in your relationship. Because a lot of times, what we do in our relationships, we become a counterfeit because we're trying to be who they want us to be. But I need
Ah,
people to go in authentically,
who?
unapologetically who you are and stand in that, because they'll love you for that. You don't have to change who you are. But a lot of us, we change who we are because we're trying to be something else. So now we become a representation of ourselves in a marriage. And so now as you're going through these years of marriage, now you somebody you don't even know who you are. And then by the time it's all said and done, I don't know who I am, and I really don't even want you. So now we're breaking up, we're divorcing, right? So
Oh
no.
God.
So I need people to be open, honest, and vulnerable, and being their authentic self, unapologetically their authentic self, and being
Mhm.
vulnerable and open and loving on purpose.
Right. That is beautiful. I love that. And the next question I'm gonna ask you is for those who are dating and they're trying
Okay.
to find the one, because from what I hear, I don't know, thank God, I have a wonderful man as well. People do have challenges currently in our current day and time finding, like you said, authentic people
Right.
without putting a persona representation. They say do one thing and then behind closed doors or another.
Mm-hmm.
So So a person that's dating, they're meeting somebody. What
Hmm.
questions should they consider asking to make sure, is that person the one I should even be entertaining or even get to know at a deeper level?
Absolutely, that's an awesome question. So, first and foremost, as I stated before, when you are whole
Hmm.
and you're dating, you already
Hmm.
know what you're gonna accept and what you're not gonna accept.
Right.
But when you go in, so let me just say this: a lot of times, it's not that the people are bad. It's not that the women are bad or the men are bad. They're going through a season in their life, and a lot of times we just get them in their bad season, and so now we're like, oh, they're jacked up, but that's not the case. All of us have done stuff. All of us have been. None of us are perfect, right? And so what it is that we get our mates in a season that they either have not healed through, they have not managed well, or um, they have not gotten to the root cause of where they are, or even had the time to work on themselves. Because a lot of people think they need someone in order to be better, but no, that's not the case. And so a lot of times we get our mates in the wrong season. So I'm saying, if you are dating, take your time, get to know who they are. So the questions are, so how long have your parents been married? Are your parents still together? Are they still married? How long have they been married?
Hmm.
Oh, and if they are not together, what caused their separation or their divorce?
Hmm.
You want to go in like that, because now you're talking about relationship. You want to see what they're bringing. What baggage are they bringing with them? Because 9 times out
Hmm.
of 10, there's some baggage coming. I brought baggage. I brought a whole bunch of baggage with me. So if they would have asked me these questions, they probably would not even talk to me. Well, they were broken too, so they probably didn't care. But getting a good person that is whole, they probably would have said, no, I think you need to take some time out, to work on you, right? Or to heal from some things in your past. So even me, I would have said, my mom and my dad was divorced. If I was whole at that time, I would have said,
Hmm.
you know, my mom and dad was a divorce, and that really scarred me. That cut me to the core. I had to
Right.
take out some time to work on me. So be open, honest, and vulnerable where you are, no matter where you are in your life. Say that. Be that. Be open. Just be vulnerable. Hey, I've been through this. I've been through that. I've been through that, and I'm not even sure if I healed from this relationship where this girl done broke up with me, or this guy done broken with me all of a sudden and didn't give me an explanation. Right? Those are hurting times. So I would dive deep. I will go to start with the family first. Where's your mom at? Where's your dad? Are they still together? Have they been married? How long they been married? Next thing is, so how do you handle finances? How do you work together? You need to go deep into that, because I'm gonna tell you, the two things that will break up a marriage is finances and communication. Right? How do you communicate? And let me tell you, another thing is, you guys date them in every season. Now, most people will say, "Oh, is that summer, winter? Is that spring, summer, winter, fall?" No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the seasons of grief. I'm talking about the season of sickness. Talking about the season of um, everything falling apart. You losing everything. I'm talking about those seasons. How do they respond when they get angry? How do you speak in that? Do you just take some time off to yourself, or do you communicate that and say, you know what, give me a minute, I'm dealing with something right now, and then we'll talk about it later? How do they communicate? Those are the questions that need to be asked. But I'm going to seriously stress, I cannot even stress it enough, date them in every season of their life. Grief, the seasons that I named, those are the seasons that they need to date them in before they say, I do.
That's amazing. Wow, those were some gems you dropped there. Thank you for that. Absolutely, thank you for that. Um, you being a mentor or coach, you do public speaking. If somebody wants to work with you or have a spouse that they want to do counseling, how can they communicate with you? You have a website, from what I saw.
I do. I have a website, and they can find me at marquettelwalker.com. I'm sorry, marquettelwalkerministries.com. And they
Okay.
could just click on the coaching. I think it's winning women, but it could be, I need to update that, because now I got men telling me they've been married 4 and 5 times and they need a little help. So I need to update that. But I do focus a lot on the women, because the women are the ones that talk the most. We're
Okay.
emotional. We're gonna tell everything. Men, they pretty much, men, they'll hold it in. They don't come out like we come out. But now a lot of them are starting to connect with me and say, yes, I've been through this, I've been through that. I'm going through this, I'm going through that, whatever. And so, yes, I want to help everyone win, whether there are a man or a woman. I want to help them win in their relationships.
That's beautiful. Amazing. So you have upcoming speaking engagements. If somebody wants to hear you speak, do they also go to your website, or do you have information on your social media pages as well? Or
I do. You'll find all of that on my social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And I had to keep up with the Gen Zs. I had to give me a TikTok as well. I'm covering all bases. And all LinkedIn. I'm under Marquette L. Walker under all of them. And you can also find me under Marquette L. Walker Ministry on them. I also, on my website, you'll find all of my speaking engagements. I do have my big one. This is my first conference that I'm doing is called The Power of We. Now, most of the time you hear we or WE is women empowerment. And we
right.
started off that way. But what came to my mind is that, you know what? All of us women are get empowered. We're going to all these conferences and getting empowered, which is causing our men to shrink. But God did not set our men to be behind us. He set them to be above us, right? So I said, you know what? I'm going to be different. My conferences will empower everyone. So mine is The Power of We, winning everyone. So we have men, women, children. Everybody is going to be at this conference. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be October 11th through the 13th at Lake Junaluska. I know people are like, what is that? It took me a while to get that word together. It is 25 miles from Asheville, but the information is on my website and it's also on my social media pages as well.
Wow, that sounds awesome. And it looks like your husband,
Oh
Mr.
yeah,
Walker, putting it up. He's a great support. I see that. That's beautiful.
he
So for
is.
those who want to work with you, what can they expect from the session? What should they have prepared coming, ahead of time? What should they be thinking about when they say, "Hey, I want to work with you"?
You know what? First and foremost is what I tell people is have hope. Because if you come to me without hope, I can't help you. You have to have hope in relationship. That's first and foremost, and that is the most important thing. They will be prepared to go through a 6-week course and helping them through the healing process because most of them are broken or they're hurting. And so I'm walking them through the healing process, which we talk about forgiveness, we talk about self-care, we talk about time management, we talk about healing. And so I'm just taking them through those courses of 6 weeks, but now we're getting ready to expand it to 24 weeks because people want more. So I'm working on expanding that curriculum to 24 weeks. So I can't wait for that to happen. But currently right now it is a 6-week long course.
Okay, great. And your book, where can they find it? Where can they purchase it?
Yes, they can purchase that book on Amazon.com. Also on my website, MarquetteLWalkerMinistries.com. Short soon, I'm not sure if it's out there yet. It should be on Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart. We'll double check, but I know for a fact that it is out there on Amazon.com and also my website.
Wonderful. So yes, I highly encourage you all to pick up Divorced but Not Defeated. Women, you will win after. And this is also, like she said, for men,
It
not
is
just
for
for women,
me.
but for men as well. So
Right.
hey, whoever needs to read it, I highly encourage you to pick it up. So we're gonna slowly start wrapping up, and I usually allow the guests or all of us pretty much to say final words of encouragement. Anything you want to say. What does
Okay.
God speak to you right now to share with the world?
Right now, so something came to me the other day and I didn't know what it was for, but I believe it's for this time and this moment. A lot of us are walking around with weight, a lot of weight. I had a dream of a scale and then I saw weight. And then I reflected on that myself. I remember I call it a backpack of weights. So a lot of us are just piling stuff into this backpack. So you start with shame, you start with you have fear, you have no accountability, and all this stuff is weighing you down. It's time to release that. It's time to release all and let all that weight so you can come up and you can emerge into the person who God has purposed you to be. But you cannot be that carrying around all of this weight. And so for me, I had to release all this and able to be able to tell my story, because carrying around that kind of weight, especially shame, guilt, fear, though, that kind of weight is a heavy weight to carry. So if you want to be great and you want to win at relationships, release the weight so you can emerge to be a better person. And that is the words that I have for you. So I say, let's heal so we can win.
Absolutely. Yes. I love that. Beautiful. Yes. And I just want to say thank you all to the viewer. Thank you, uh, Mrs. Marquette, Minister Marquette L. Walker. It was amazing to have you on. You just shared so much knowledge, words of encouragement, gems. I know me and a lot of the audiences that were watching, we learned a lot. So I appreciate you. And these are also going to be available for anybody to watch at any time. Just
Okay.
go on the website, Facebook, YouTube, you know, my website as well. I post those as well on my website. So you can find Oyandia TV. Just search under me, Yesty Rodriguez. I'm on Google. So if you don't know where to find Yesty, go on Google. Everything will pull up.
Okay.
Also, Minister Marquette L. Walker. Find her as well. Go and follow her. Check and see when is her next speaking engagement. She just shared everything is on her website and on her social media pages. So again, thank you all. And as always, this was another great episode of Hoy en Día TV. Until next time, hasta pronto.
Bye.